it's been a great pleasure to basically meet you and have you here to talk. Like, we have met on Substack, and you have built an incredible platform with emerging tech. It's just basically what someone wants to find for tech, but almost like for everything. Like, I think that from everything that I looked at, haven't I haven't found a topic that you didn't actually like address in some point. So this is really cool. I would like to like thank you for the work that you have put in. And basically, if you can take us a little bit back on how did you start, what is the story behind it, and what brings us to this exact moment.
Yeah, like I've always been a writer. I've written like many articles in the past, but I think that I just wasn't, very consistent. But
Mhm.
I became more consistent, like I think in two instances last year. So once I went to so I've been working in crypto for a very long time, probably like 7 years
Mhm.
now, and I went to a quantum computer meetup because there like cryptography it could be made insecure like
Mhm.
unsecure due to quantum computing. And when I was there I realized that people know the impacts of quantum computing but they actually don't really know what a quantum computer is, how it works, how it's built. And so there's a lot of areas in emerging tech, not just in quantum computing or cryptography, that people just really don't know much about. Like they might use it, but or they might hear the impacts of it, but they really don't know how it works. And so I was really motivated to really bring that how, that why to this audiences because I think that it's like super important for people to understand, how things work. Like a company that I used to work prior to writing a lot on Substack, that they were really big on the how and the why. And I think that
Mhm.
like, I saw like a lot of tech audiences appreciate that. And I really saw like that was something that is kind of missing in the market because I think that there's a lot of marketing articles, there's a lot of very, very technical articles, but kind of that middle ground is not there. So like I
Mhm.
wanted to write for that middle ground of people who wanted to learn a little bit more about how things work, but maybe not like as super technical as maybe reading a academic paper. And then the second dilemma that or second experience that I was running into, well, actually, I was applying for jobs last year, and one of the feedback points that I had was I lacked clarity on the technical concepts that I was talking about. Like I understood them and was able to talk to them at a high level, but there was a certain point where I wasn't able to be really fluid with my thoughts. And so I thought like, well, I definitely know a lot of these concepts. I've been working in crypto for 7 years now. Maybe I just need to actually like just rest my brain and actually like think deeply about what I'm talking about. And I thought like writing was a great way to do that because I think that for a long time I was probably just writing and reading a lot on X and not really going deep or thinking deeply about the concepts. Or and now with AI, like I can easily, build a product without really even knowing sometimes some of the basic concepts. I felt like I was losing that touch with really having more clarity in my tech thoughts. So I think there are two instances, like seeing how people were really hungry for learning how things worked in the industry, and then also for my own self, getting more clarity on how do things work, having more clarity on how things work, being able to talk that a lot better customers really kind of motivated me to write a lot more.
Yeah, and that's something I totally get it because within AI automation, there are blogs and newsletters out there. They are completely AI written, and that's okay if someone doesn't want to like devote the time. But I think writing makes you have more structure, like at least how I think of it. And I have to actually put like a demo or something practical into paper, at least for me as well. I tend to actually put it in step by step and make it more comprehensible for people because it's not just for me to read it, it's something that everyone should read and understand. And that makes me curate it a bit different.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree as well. I think that people are really looking, despite AI, like I think
Mm-hmm.
people are really looking for ways to understand like different like concepts in the world, whether it's technology, politics. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that AI is really good at kind of giving kind of some of the fundamentals, but still might not be able to flow through some of the how, why, what questions that a human might have. And I think only a human can kind of formulate that to again structure an article or a podcast or a video to really make it flow in a way that a human would understand. Because AI, it knows so much, right? That sometimes when you ask it something, it kind of goes on a tangent because it has so much context, but a human doesn't have that much context, that much knowledge base. In order for them to understand, like it has to be in a structured way with structured content, like set, like spoken in a certain way. So like there is still like an authenticity that humans need to have when they're consuming content. AI agents can't provide because AI agents do have a lot more context and knowledge that a human does not have.
True. True. Definitely true. So a lot of my listeners starting following because after like the AI boom, they felt that there were so many tools out there, so many new things going up in the AI world. And looking back at your own journey, how did you navigate? Because you came from quantum computing. It's not an easy field, but definitely it's a lot different than AI. So when you transitioned into this topic, how did you approach it?
Yeah, so I think that I was, asking like AI like a lot of different questions and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of different things. But I still think that going like and AI was not very good at answering a lot of topics. So I think like for me, like my workflow has now been I'm still working on like I'm still focusing on the foundations of still you like reading academic papers, still like reading like credible news sources on different technical topics. And if there's something that I might not understand, like I would put it into, for example, like Claude or ChatGPT first and kind of just have it explain it to me and kind of make sure that I'm understanding it, and then also validating a lot of times with the academic writer or the researcher behind it. So I think like AI has really helped me with at least like understanding some kind of key concepts before needing to like just validate it with an academic research, getting some sort of like high level of clarity. I don't use like AI at all in terms of like helping me write. It's just
Mm-hmm.
more of maybe just getting a little bit of clarity. I think that there's two different tools that I've found when I've like
Mm-hmm.
was able to look into AI. So there's tools where AI like helps you get like a lot of work done, and then there's a lot of AIs that like really enhance your like productivity. Like I don't use AI to write my articles or do my research for me. I do use AI for like other productivity aspects. Like you can still use AI, like you can still use like AI to help you be productive without losing your authenticity, I think. For example, like I use like speech to text, like Whisper Flow, for example, in order to write emails because like I speak faster than type, but
Sure.
I'm still like saying the same thing, right? Or I use Grammarly, for example, to just make sure that my grammar is correct. So there are still ways to incorporate like AI into your workflow that doesn't like lose your workflow that you're used to, or like the workflow that I think is like valuable to our users or your readers. Like for example, for me, like my audience like really appreciates the fact that I still read, like do my research and write myself without using AI. So like I want to keep that workflow, but there are still certain aspects of my work that I still integrate AI with. So it's just a matter of figuring out like what are you willing to delegate to AI, which is like a
Mm-hmm.
very hard question to
True.
answer. It's a very hard question to answer, but it really is kind of a matter of like, what are you willing to delegate to AI? What are you willing to lose, like in terms of your human touch? What are you kind of willing, like what do you think that you could kind of have someone automate because that was not something that you're interested in, or it was something that doesn't really impact who
Mhm.
you are in the work that you do?
Yeah, true. And since you said that you have developed a community that really trusts you into the outputs that you're giving them, basically the content and the research that you have been doing, where when was this shift that you actually understood, wow, like this moment, I actually found out that like I have a community that really trusts me for the authenticity that I bring them on.
Yeah, in the crypto industry, a lot of the content is either, very marketing driven. So like really talking about like products in a way that kind of just market them and not really giving like how or what they can be used for. And the other side of content is very academic content. Like you have to be a core protocol researcher to really understand it. And there wasn't really a middle ground for everyone else. Maybe a developer who really want to understand the technology, but maybe doesn't have a PhD, or someone who is just really interested in the technology, but really doesn't like any of the marketing style articles. They kind of just want to, see, like really understand more about the bigger picture of a product. So I really saw like that was a kind of a key area that was missing, and I really wanted to write for that, like that subsect, because even for me, like I was also struggling to find content that really resonated with me. So I just really kind of wrote content that resonated
Mhm.
for me as a developer who doesn't have a PhD but really does want to understand things from a really deeper technical level. And I think that the other aspect is like not using not using AI in order to write my articles, really kind of write it from, like you were talking about how like structure is super important,
Mhm.
writing from the perspective of me as a developer. What are the questions, topics that I would ask about this topic? So for example, I recently went to a talk about how like about the quantum computing hardware, and so I wrote an article about like, okay, like what would a quantum computer look like what would installing it be like, what are kind of the hardware challenges. And I think like I was kind of basing off of it, okay, like what are the questions that what are the questions that I had after that talk. So I think building trust is about really building like answering the questions that you want answered, because like other people might have those questions, and then also showing people how you got to that result. So a lot of like, so all my articles I include sources. I think one of the things that we deal a lot with is fake news or sensational news. And so if you can like you can define your sources, say who said what, I think that's also super important. So trust really kind of comes down to a little bit more about like, okay, human authenticity in a sense of like how would like what are the questions that you're kind of answering for other people, and then the
Mhm.
other aspect is telling them the truth. Like where did you get the truth, where is how can they find the truth? I think those are really the two aspects where I really found like a connection with my community, was that there isn't really and there really isn't content in those two areas, or sometimes it's whether it's marketing where there isn't as much truth, right? The truth is bended a little bit. And
Mhm.
sometimes, and then for academic content, the truth is there because there's so many sources, so many experiments, but it's not really, I guess, like easy for someone who doesn't have that background to consume. So I was able to kind of to write for those two challenges.
Yeah, and that's something that I totally get it because you bring a sort of different, let's say, personality into your content that it is lacking from something generic like AI written content or text, whatever. So basically, I wanted to ask you, since you are not using AI for research, do you have any source that you go and get ideas from in order to on what you write about? Like, for example, how did you find that meetup? Is it someone in your circle that recommended it, or you wanted to go there? I'm just thinking like, how would Jennifer Tran actually go and find inspiration to write about?
Yeah, so I go to a lot of meetups and I find
Hmm.
them through meetup.com
Hmm.
and like through Luma. So and I was really experimenting with a lot of different meetups. And eventually I was able to find one meetup lecture series that really resonated with me. So I go to the University of Washington Quantum X
Hmm.
series here in Seattle, and a lot of the speakers, are academics who just speak about like
Yeah.
their research in quantum computing. So I think it's a
Hmm.
lot of experimentation with going to a lot of meetups, talks, and then once you kind of find a niche or community that you really like, then like that's going to be your kind of your reoccurring routine that you just kind of go to that and then you get inspired by the people through there. And then once like I met a lot of people in the quantum computing circles, I ended up meeting like other people were introducing me to other folks and like into like suggesting me other events as well as other people to follow. So I think that things like compound, like once you kind of get a groove into like meeting other people, like things will just compound and then you get inspiration from there. And then second, from previous article research. So I read a lot of academic papers and you be like for specific like article types for the articles I'm writing, and a lot of like articles might like mention something else that might be interesting that is kind of out of scope of the article.
Hmm.
So if you read more, you will find a lot of inspiration and things to kind of talk about and think about that you kind of put in your back burner, even if it's not related to the content that you're writing today. I think reading is always a great way to kind of just get more inspiration because you never know what you end up finding.
Yeah, and I really like the last sentence that you mentioned. We should highlight that. So, what is maybe an unexpected lesson that you learned from yourself from building this publication on Substack, for example? Like as a writer, did you discover something about yourself? Did you self-reflect on yourself, your life, and basically how this has affected your future moving on?
I think that every developer or technologist has the ability to create content and to
Hmm.
create thing to help other people learn about what they do. I think for a long time, I think developers and technologists were thinking that they can only build an app or build some sort of technology, but you can actually like that's not only the case. Like there's so much knowledge that builders have that can be curated into content, articles, videos, and I think that's really interesting because now that building has become a lot easier with AI,
Hmm.
I'm just thinking like what are some ways in which like a builder can have like can fill up that time. And I think like creating content is actually one of those areas like where you can teach someone about something that you've learned or kind of just keeping or making sure that your thoughts are so fluid despite having to really use AI so much and like kind of not think as much. So I think that I was really surprised by the fact that having been so technical that I now kind of have the creative space now to be able to write. And I think the other part is I actually like I mentioned like I actually haven't worked in quantum computing for a very long time. With I guess with I mean in a way like I mentioned a lot like where I didn't like use as much AI, but I still think that with AI and with all the tools now, you can get into sub industries like very quickly. Let's say like for example, like I know I was in cryptography. Originally I was in web development and then I pivoted to
Hmm.
cryptography because I thought that was really interesting. And then now I'm in the intersection between quantum computing and cryptography. And who else? Who knows? As you saw, like you saw
Yeah,
so many topics,
true.
right? people can learn so fast and go to many different industries super fast. It's not the same as before where you had to maybe do a degree program or certificate program. You can kind of just get into that industry as fast as possible. I mean, I learned a lot about quantum computing pretty fast, and who knows what else, right? Like when I see like your feed or someone else's feed, like I can easily learn about it. So I think that's really interesting is like we don't have to silo ourselves to one subsection or sub industry in a tech anymore.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I find really interesting the articles that you write, especially the ones that they are a lot out of my league, because then I get into thinking mode. It's not something that I'm introduced to most of the times because, for example, my X is curated toward AI news because I follow them a lot, so I get more and more based on the algorithm. I don't get a lot of stuff about quantum, about hardware, about this sort of stuff. So yeah, I just think that it's pretty cool to experience this sort of change and intersection with yourself. Also, one question that I would like to ask you is because I had this with a lot of my guests as a discussion. In this era where AI is moving so fast and a lot of people are basically saying that it will replace everyone, like everyone will lose their jobs, whatever. What do you think is a skill that humans need to protect at all costs that makes us humans?
That's a really good one. I mean, there's a lot of different areas that I think that are like humans really need to protect. I mean, definitely the creativity side, because like I mean, AI will always need something to feed it. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just continue like if we just let AI create like everything, then everything kind of stays the same. So we really kind of need to kind of find what are new like art pieces or ways of writing, ways of creating that AI can't do right now that we
Mm-hmm.
want to kind of see more of. So AI needs more data to fuel it. So we still need to keep on creating. And then the other aspect is AI will never be able to, I mean, it can help you physically like be healthy, but AI will never actually make you be healthy. So it's kind of up to you to make sure that your mental health and your physical fitness is still on par. So I think that I guess a skill that AI would never be able like I hope that AI will never be able to replace is just like your physical health, your physical and mental health. That is going to be
Mm-hmm.
something that like to know how to protect your physical and mental health is going to be a skill that we should really protect because I really don't think that AI should be interfering with that. And yeah, I think also the maybe the third one as well is like learning the foundations. So we've mentioned a couple of times where yeah, maybe some of the topics or maybe some of the areas AI can do really well, but being able to be agile, nimble, be able to learn different things really quickly is not going to change because humans are going to have to really going to have to continue to learn really fast. And so being able to learn and understand the foundations, I hope that humans like I really hope that humans never lose that because if they lose that, they won't be able to kind of move to a time or an area where they can build new things that that you can feed AI. So I would say like I hope we can protect learning the foundations of anything really AI so that way that humans can hopefully invent other things because we shouldn't stop inventing with just AI. I mean, I think there's more to the world than that.
Yeah, I really like that. And I think we keep inventing and inventing stuff because we keep having more and more questions about life and about the world in general. I don't think that AI will be able to solve all of our problems, but I do think that in some cases it will accelerate the workflow of people solving problems. So I have this sort of idea that it's just human with a really good tool, like a better tool than before. So yeah, basically it was a really nice time. Like it was a pleasure to have you on the podcast. I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to discuss with us. And also, last thing before I leave you, like where people can find you and they can chat with you or follow your publication. Maybe you can tell them.
Yeah, you can follow my publication at realmscape.substack.com. You can also search me on as Realmscape on Substack. I do follow Paraskevi, so please, you can also find her, and then you can also search for me there as well. So Jennifer Tran, yeah.
So our links will be down below in the description as well. It's just a really nice way for people who are listening as a podcast to find you as well. And yeah, it was a great time having you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.